Welcome back to Double Nickel. Hey, today I want to talk to you about something that has become more acute for me. I'll say it that way. And what's caused this awareness, it's not something unique to my life. It's not unique to approaching retirement. It's a reality whether you're in your 20s or 30s, you're in the midst of raising children, or the heat of your career, or you're like me approaching retirement, or you're already retired. It's a reality for all of us, but I've become more aware of it because in my last year now, I'm using all of my paid time off to enjoy this final calendar year at the job. We've been an empty nester for a few years now, so we've already created, or had created for us, I guess, some free space on our calendar that we didn't have before. I'm taking that time off, and now my wife has just recently, in the last few weeks, retired from her job. And so we're beginning to experience a little bit of a preview, kind of a sneak peek into what retirement's probably going to be like. And that's this abundance of time and open schedule that we get to determine what we're going to do with that we didn't have in the past. And as that's happening, I'm noticing some things in my own tendency, in my own life, that are happening that are, I guess you call them temptations or negative opportunities for things that can begin to sneak in and encroach and take over that newly created time and space that you have. And so for me, I guess I'm noticing it because the calendar's opening up, the opportunities for time is opening up a little bit more than it did when I was busier in the past. And I'm catching myself experiencing at times a little bit of temptation in these areas that I want to guard against, because what's happening is when there's a void, it wants to get filled in anything, and so a void in your schedule, your time, creates a tendency for it to get filled up with things that just don't have much meaning or they're very harmful to you. And I want to talk about 4 of those today, very specific things that apply not only to someone pre-retirement like myself, or a retiree, but like I said, to anyone at any point in your life. So there's 4 of them, 4 things. The first thing is opinion media. And I don't mean just informative news. There's a lot of benefit to being informed about what's going on in the world. I endorse that. I have strong curiosity myself. I like to discover new things. I like information. Helps me make decisions. So by no means am I saying you shouldn't be informed, but what I'm talking about are those news programs that when you tune into them will take something and present it in such a way that it's getting a response out of you. Usually the response that they're looking for is outrage, and it creates what seems like outrage addiction. Something happens to you physiologically, I guess, when you're outraged, in a controlled manner, I suppose, that makes you want more of it. And so if you're not careful, you'll sit down with your TV dinner, your TV at dinner, hopefully not a TV dinner, but could be. And you'll turn on the television and you'll navigate to one of these opinion programs, and it'll usually align with your way of thinking in some way, but it'll paint the picture in the program in such a way of whatever the topic is that you're just outraged. You just can't believe it. You're so upset that you become addicted to that, which is strange when you think about it, but it's true. The other thing that happens with news often, especially opinion news, but really all news, is it's just constant negativity. News intake needs to be controlled because usually it'll be maybe at the very end of a program, they'll throw in a positive story, but a 30-minute program with 30 seconds of positivity, pretty bad ratio. So I think opinion news that creates outrage and anger and unrest in your life, that's very unhealthy. And it almost creates a vicious cycle of you wanting to go back for more of it. And it's a huge time waster and energy waster. You'll find yourself almost exhausted and your mental state in a negative way from ingesting so much of that stuff. So I'd say stay away from opinion news. That's one thing that's tried to creep in. I've closed the door on that in the last few years, and got a little dose of it trying to work its way back into my life, and I've shut that back off again. The next thing I want to talk about, and it's funny being on YouTube, I give you this, it's social media influencers that create comparison. I think that's so unhealthy. I hope I'm not creating any kind of comparison issues for you. If you're watching this, I'm trying to do the opposite. I want you to enjoy your life to the fullest, and whatever it is that you have, it's what I'm trying to do. It's what I'm trying to learn to do anyway, and I want that for you. I don't want you comparing yourself to my life or something unrealistic, some fake reality. And it could even be a reality maybe for me or for someone else on social media, but it's not for you. And if you're not careful, you start a comparison game. A lot of times it'll be some super fit person, or they're very wealthy, or they appear to have this perfect schedule of vacations they go on, these beautiful places, and they almost present life as if that's normal, that's every day. And sure, you can be fit, nothing wrong with that. I'm working on my health as well, but certainly not sculpted. Just trying to be healthy. We all have financial limitations. That's just a reality of it. Nearly all of us do. And not every day is a perfect day. So if you're not careful, social media influencers will paint a picture of life that's unrealistic. The other thing they'll do is they'll just create anger in your life. And they'll do that often by creating kind of a false reality, a false situation, presenting very obscure information in just a certain way to make it almost feel conspiratorial, and like the rest of the world doesn't know, and only you know, or only they know. And it almost comes off as if everyone else that doesn't know or isn't in on it is the bad guy. Us against them mentality, it happens a lot. And so of course you're outraged and angry, a little bit like the news. The difference here, though, that's probably worse, is you can comment on social media. You can't comment on the opinion news. And you comment, and if it's an explosive topic, and usually it is, or you know that someone comments back, and then you feel like you have to respond to that person. And it can happen on YouTube. It can happen on Facebook, Twitter, you know, anywhere. By the way, I do know it's X, but can't hardly get over it being Twitter. Anyway, the vicious comment cycle. So you're either in the comparison cycle or the comment cycle. The other one is sort of the calamity thing. It's fear-mongering and anxiety. If the market had crashed as many times as has been predicted on social media, or the economy had entered a recession or a depression as many times as had been predicted on social media, or we'd had civil unrest, or the government had collapsed, or some horrible virus or medical event took place, I don't know. It's usually couched in one of these things, the next bad thing that's coming. It doesn't say it that way. It'll say the next big thing, or get out before, or prepare ahead of. Those are warning signs for me. I stay away from them. Not everybody deserves access to your mind and your time. And opinion news and social media influencers that play off of the things that opinion news plays off of, to me, they're pretty toxic things that are going to poison your mood, your attitude. They're going to consume a bunch of your time. I've heard of this doom scrolling. Not exactly sure what that is in full transparency, other than you just keep wanting more of the bad stuff, or you're just tuning out and wasting your time on the phone, not really taking anything healthy. I have no problem with news. I have no problem with social media. I'm recording this video. I've got this little channel. Just want it to be constructive. That's what I'm after. So be something that's positive in your life, that's beneficial. So you got that. There are some other things that I've noticed try to fill in that void, and those are draining relationships. And those may already be there, but if they're a draining relationship, as you create more free time or space in your life, those draining relationships want to drain even more. And what I'm reminded of is when we were approaching marriage, we were recommended to read this book, His Needs, Her Needs. Pretty sure that's the name of it. And it kind of used a bank analogy, helped trying to help men and women understand one another about behaviors and actions that we do that are either making emotional deposits in one another's account or they're making emotional withdrawals. And I think that's been such a healthy book for me. I don't remember all the details. I remember some of them. They've been useful to me in our marriage, I think to my wife, but this applies to any relationship in life. People are either making deposits or withdrawals from your emotional bank. And what I would encourage you to do is identify those people who more or less only make withdrawals and create some distance there, create some space. And you can do this tactfully. I don't recommend creating a confrontation that's unnecessary. That's just more emotional toil and challenge that you'd have to deal with. You know, you don't want to approach the person and say, hey, I've really thought about this, and you're someone that makes emotional withdrawals, so we're gonna see less of each other. That's really not the way to handle it. You know that. Be a little bit tactful. Just start to create some space and some boundaries, and spend more time around people who are making deposits, and you're making deposits into their life. That positivity with each other. What I'm looking for. Just work on controlling your exposure to people who are taking from you and not in any way benefiting you. And then the last thing, and I can't help but talk about this on Double Nickel, is wearisome work. And what I'm talking about there is work that either isn't advancing your financial goals, not achieving your financial objectives. It may be wearisome, but it may be helping you achieve your goals. Or airplane passing overhead. It may provide benefits that are essential to you and your family. Oh, that's fine. I mean, you may not enjoy the job, but there is a purpose for it. And usually, if there's a purpose for something, we can cope with that, and we can rationalize that. People can find ways to make it all make sense. So if it's achieving your financial objectives, that's fine. Or it's very personally satisfying to you. That's also the kind of work you should be involved with. And the ultimate is one type is a work that is both financially rewarding and helping you accomplish what you're after, and also personally satisfying. If you've got that job, man, you got it made. I mentioned my wife earlier. She recently retired. She worked in a field where she did therapy, helped special needs children, and loved her job. I mean, she gave all she had to it. She loved those people, those children, those people she worked with, her crew. So she was personally fulfilled. And of course, it helped us as a family meet our financial objectives over time. So it's great work. It's the kind of work you want. Now, what I would encourage you to do, a piece of advice here, if you're in a job that's really not advancing your financial goals, you're just treading water or even losing ground, and there's no financial reward to it, no fulfillment out of the job, quit when you find a new job and work on finding a new job as quickly as you can. You either need to be achieving your financial objectives and or finding great personal satisfaction in your work if you're going to be working. And most of us have to work. Very few of us are trust children, I guess, that can live off what was given to us. So since we're going to have to work, let's at least make it worth it financially, or find fulfillment in what it is that we spend our time doing. And man, think about all the time that gets spent at work. It's a huge portion of your life. It's not worth spending so much of your time on something you don't enjoy. So get away from that soul draining job that accomplishes neither of the objectives. The point I'm trying to make is your life gets better when you stop feeding the things that weaken you and that bring you down, whether it be the media you consume on the news, social media, relationships, work. You may even have a hobby that does nothing but make you angry. I used to I'm going to use the word attempt to play golf, and usually I was in a worse mood when I got home than when I left. I quit. So look for things that lift you up, that make deposits in your life, not things that make withdrawals. Pursue those things and embrace them, and create space and barriers between yourself and those things that do the opposite. That's what today is about. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're young, a teenager, you're thriving in your career, or you're fighting through your career, you're starting a family, you're retired, or you're like me, you're trying to retire. Good guidelines for all of us. Well, hey, Till next time, see where double nickel takes us.